All right, so if you are new to the channel and you're like, okay, what did I just land on? What is behind this Barbie desert person that you're watching? What is going on? Well, okay, let me catch you up on it. Our nonprofit, they said I might have already mentioned, has a museum, and it's a very small private one and is dedicated to the education of the desert, the animals, and just getting you to fall in love, people to understand some of the animals and basic education. We're not a college or a school, we're just more of support and, like I said, a museum. So lately on the videos, like I said, if you have not been following us, please go back, please get into some of the series that we're doing, because there's so many different amazing animals out here. We have this beautiful ecosystem. There's been a lot to follow. Last video that I made was about the canyon bats and some of the Mexican freetail bats that we have out here that we're working on and now have on display at the museum. So the education for that is just mind-blowing, tiny, tiny little bats. But while I was making that video, I also showed you one of the javelina heads that we have here and just the difference. We do a lot of compare and contrast on this video. So for those of us that normally follow, that are doing your education, I hope that gives you enough time to grab your paper and pencil, get yourself set up. So yeah, you can continue on your education. There's tons of education on this channel. Go back to any of our playlists if you're not sure, if you want to catch up. We have things about how bats and birds, why they're not the same, all that kind of stuff. And then now we've even included some worksheets and that kind of stuff for those of you that are working at home, doing homeschooling and that kind of stuff. So happy to have you here. I really am. Ooh, hair is already sticky, you guys. It's so hot. It's so hot out here. All right, let's do a real quick catch up. About 3 weeks ago, roughly, found the javelina had been hit on the side of the road. The next morning, it had been completely kind of torn apart from the animals overnight. We took it, put it on the far end of the property. We have about 3 acres up here, like I said, for those of you that are new or just starting to follow. We have about 3 acres, so we moved it over lower on the property, put the cameras on it so we could watch the turkey vultures and the rest of the natural process to see what happened, and then to see if we would be lucky enough to be able to keep enough of the skeleton again so we could put it on display. What is a javelina? It is a collared peccary. It is not a pig. It is not one of these wild boars that you might see over in Texas. Those are huge. Collared peccary are native to our area and it's smaller, and it would almost, I would say, if you didn't know, you would think maybe you saw like a little small bear. They're kind of rounded. Again, look them up kind of thing. Okay, so we brought that home. Go back to the videos, go back to the shorts. You're gonna watch the turkey vultures are tearing it apart. We were surprised that they ate it to a certain point. So we still were left with too much on the skeleton to be able to put in a museum. It's still yucky. You still have a lot of cleaning to do at that point. So we ordered a set of beetles, put it in a bin, use the beetles. But what we run into out here, and what I keep mentioning, is how hot it is. It is excessively hot. And so to try to keep that kind of science going, where you have the whole entomology, where you have the flies and the larvae, and then you got all the bugs and everybody, the beetles, everybody's going to eat the flesh off of these skeletons for us to get it to a certain point. I don't have those arrangements now. I wish I had some controlled air unit that I could be doing this in, but again, we're a small nonprofit, we're even a small channel. So maybe as we grow, and you'll watch me as we go down the road with all of this science, so we'll be able, excuse me, we'll be able to have some kind of place like that where we're able to take the skeletons like this. I really still need more work done on it, and I really needed the beetles to be able to work on it longer. It just got too hot. There was no place that I was going to be able to garage anywhere I was going to be able to put it, and I certainly wasn't going to put it all into the house. And so yeah, you still have, it's not clean enough yet to put out on display. It still has a smell, and so there's still plenty of work that I have to do. So we had the javelina, that would be this one over here. We had the javelina out there, and I still keep it outside in this intense heat, so the heat is basically baking it all out of all the whatever you want to call that. Okay, like I said, I'm at this point my brain's fried. Okay, so all of the oils, all of the fatty tissues, all of that is getting baked out of these skeletons for me out here, because I'm using nature. I'm using nature to help me with this. So instead of using a bunch of chemicals or anything else, we went from the wild animals in the food chain. Once this animal is hit, wild animals in the food chain start eating at it. Then we go into the whole section of, like I said, bugs. Now we're taking the same putting it out into the sun, letting the sun dry and do all the things that it's doing. And so you get to a certain point. And I have manually helped it along. And those are the videos that I don't make and don't show everybody because I think it's too graphic. I have younger viewers out there that are very interested in what we're doing and think these skulls are really neat, but that I don't think they need to see me sitting and scraping and stuff. So I just don't. We just don't show it. So the last videos that I showed, I was down in a shed. It was stinky hot. We're watching the turkey vultures. We were watching all of that stuff. Fast forward to where we are now. And you're saying, Stacy, we were talking about a javelina, but over here, what is this? You have two. Yes, in the meantime, in the past few weeks, followers and supporters that live locally in a very private, beautiful country club area. I have multiple people that support us that are over there that also we have permission to retrieve anything they have found. And one of the residents over there found this coyote, and it was just a mangled mess, and got a hold of us and said, you know, what do you think? So we went out and met up, and we're able to take this one and literally just soak it in water and untwist it from what the turkey vultures had done with it. I was pretty certain it was turkey vultures because really there's not a lot of other animals that are gonna take a carcass and just spin it like that. So the coyote, when we got it, was just a twisted mess. And again, that's why I don't make videos for that. I think it's a little too graphic, and that wasn't what I was trying to highlight or show. That wasn't what we were gonna learn from. If you are further advanced in your science, then maybe contact me, and when we are working with that kind of stuff, maybe we could have a private class. But for our videos for the public and for YouTube and all that stuff, I don't know. It's just it's too much. I'm surprised that a lot of you watch the shows where it's the homicide units and they're investigating these bodies. I think a lot of people have quite the separation of the actual medical science and everything that goes along if you had found actually a dead human as opposed to finding a dead just animal. I don't even want no. Stacy is just working with this kind of stuff, so, and it's hard enough. So I'd like to say on those shows that are the TV shows, let's maybe we've glorified some of that kind of stuff and not glorified the doctor part of it as much, or the science part of it as much, the reality part of it, because really in reality no one's going to solve a homicide or something in 20 minutes. We know that, or have figured out what has happened to something. So a lot of the science is on TV. It gets distorted. The amount of time that it takes to do something gets kind of distorted, and so that's kind of why I show you these videos and catch you up on it. The process is long. I can't just find something and then go, okay, we found this, and then put it on the shelf inside the museum. For my younger viewers and those that are still learning, why would I not be able to do that? There's a smell that is still emanating from these. They're not fully clean yet. I need to be careful when I'm handling them, still using my gloves, all that kind of stuff. You still have flesh, you still have the possibility of disease, all that kind of stuff when you're working with them. So no, we don't immediately take things and put them in the museum. Some of you that have been in the museum, though, you see some of the stuff you have in there is not completely clean, Stace. Absolutely, that is correct as well. We have found certain bones out in the desert that have been obviously in the desert for years, and they're baked. There isn't anything growing on those. And so we use those type of skeletons in your compare and contrast of something that we have uber cleaned up and used the peroxide and stuff and washed and all those things to make it clean, and all the teeth are all glued back in, compared to something that you would legitimately find out in the desert that has been out for a long time in the sun. There's a lot to learn on the differences and how long it takes to look that way, or if you would ever look that way using chemicals or manually doing it. And so there's a lot. I've learned so much, and I love sharing all this with you guys. That's why I make these videos. Obviously, I'm not famous, whatever. There's an amazing amount of science, and I'm hoping to share it with those of you out there that weren't aware, or that live out in the desert near us but don't get to experience what I get to experience with the animals, or we get to experience with the animals, because really for a lot of areas now they're just clearing it out and putting houses and you know, retail and all those kind of things, and you don't experience the desert and you don't experience the animals the same way. So I really appreciate those of you, especially the locals that follow along and support, because you do see it. And so to listen about more of it when you're local, I really appreciate you. But a lot of this is definitely for those that don't live immediately around here, and they can learn a little bit more about how the animals are behaving and at what rate. All the videos you're watching from us are things that we have videoed literally right around here. So the bobcat, the very extreme close-up of the bobcat that I have, was just changing a camera position of a bobcat that normally comes through. So those of you that do watch, that's why I said it that way on there. We changed the camera angle. We've been working that out, and finally got some just amazing videos of the bobcat up close drinking the water. No, we do not feed any of the wild animals that you see. For anybody that has asked that question, no. Got a camera out next to some water. How you could not offer water to the wild animals when it's this extremely hot, I don't know. It's in my heart. We put little water bowls all over, out and around and down on the lower road that we have. We sit up on the hill. There's water for the animals the best we can. We have a water hole. You guys have watched that too, that we've been working on the backside over by our well. We're just really waiting for the monsoon to kick off to fill it up. I can't say that I could afford to put that kind of water down in there. Anybody shout out, want to give us some money for water? No, we're going to wait for the monsoon to fill it up naturally, and we are making the bottom of the water basin. We're going to use some different, we tried to use Quickcrete, that didn't really work. We're going to try to use some different substances, use some different stuff to make sure that the water will hold. But yeah, we definitely want the monsoon to come in, because the water area that we've got for the wild animals back there is on the wash. The wash comes from the mountain over here. Got washes on both sides of us. When the monsoons hit, it's gonna be serious this time, you guys. It is so hot that this ground is just baking like concrete. It is hot out here. Us getting a lot of water is going to be dangerous and scary, so it's something that we all need to be prepared for and being aware. It's also why I have the bones up here. I know that at night the storms are starting to ramp up. We're watching them. They haven't come in yet. But when they do, they get serious. So I have a little area over here that I'm going to be able to block everything off and hopefully protect, because yeah, you know, I guess I'll wind up going in the garage if I have to, but I don't really want the smell to go over there. So anyways, so we've got the compare and contrast of the coyote. This is a young coyote that we have, and I would say an adult javelina. They're pretty much the same size. You'll be able to see here, and then within maybe a few months, you'll be able to see at the museum in person the full compare and contrast. We'll have a full series about it. Very excited. This is the head of the javelina that goes on this one right here. So still in process. It is cleaning up nicely, but I want to be able to show you guys up close. Okay, it is, we're doing a really good job. And this was the one that was given to me by a resident. This was the only thing they had found. It was found out on the fairway, I guess is what you'd say, by the golf course, but right by her house. And called and asked me to pick it up, and it had been covered, you guys, covered in worms, larvae, maggots, whatever you want to call it, and it's still not clean. I think I have a part on here where I've got a part of the tooth kind of chipped off. Got that saved, so I'm going to be able to, I'll be gluing that back together the best I can. So still a lot of cleaning on all of this. And so when I get a little tired of this heavy, dirty, stinky kind of work, then I go back in and finish the bats. For the bats, like so, we have canyon bats and the Mexican free-tail bats, and they are, a couple are on display, and some are just still for our educational purposes and going to different places. Teeny tiny thread-like little animals that I was working with. So it's fun to practice the difference in the, I guess, the just dexterity. Working with heavy things that I guess, I wouldn't say I'd be okay if I dropped it, but it would probably survive it. And when I'm working with the bats, it's like being very, very careful. So learning a lot. If you wanted to know some of the processes, go ahead and ask me in the comments. Please write them down, because that helps us fix it with YouTube. I don't do a lot of fancy, you guys. A lot of it is just actually the it's physical work. It's labor. It's getting in there and detailing things out and cleaning stuff off. At a certain point, it's actual labor. Like I was sharing with a young man that we family had